We're going to slide our sight in one over top of our scope. And we're pretty darn close. Good morning and welcome back to the Elk-Shaped Gear channel, where we help you make more informed decisions on your gear purchases. My name is Tyler Denham, and I try to give you the information you need to make the most informed decision on your gear purchases. I try to give you my honest opinion of the products that I have tested so that you can make your dollars go farther for you. Got out to the range this last weekend, did some shooting, and I tested this Sight-in-One product. This is to help you get dialed in a little bit faster than the traditional way of doing it. They make a small, medium, and a large. Small is for up to a 40 millimeter objective lens. So the bell on your rifle scope, the big end, it needs to be able to fit over there, and it can't be too big, it can't be too small. So if you have a scope that's under 40 millimeters, which is probably going to be more your 22s, 17s, that sort of thing, smaller scopes, or you may be building a super lightweight mountain rifle that you want to put a smaller scope on, that's where this 40 and under is going to come in handy. The medium is a 40 to 50 millimeter. This is probably going to be what most of you will use. That's what most of the modern rifle scopes are these days that people are putting on their rifles, is that 40 to 50. A lot of times I'll use a 42 to 48, somewhere in there, and or the 50 millimeters. And so this is going to be the bread and butter. And then for you big scope guys out there, they do make a 50 and over objective lens. So if you are putting big glass on a canyon pounding rifle, this is the one you're going to need. When you go out to the range to use this Sight-in-One product, you're sighting in your rifle for the first time after you've mounted the scope, you're definitely going to want to read and follow the directions that they send with you in the box, because you're going to be less frustrated if you do that. What I did was set my paper up at 100 yards, shoot, and then try to dial it in from there. It didn't work well at all because I didn't follow the direction. You're going to want to pull this direction sheet out of the product. I ended up using this 40 to 50. You pull that out of the box. It comes with this quick guide instructions. You're going to want to not lose this because you need this sheet to work the Sight-in-One product. What you're going to do is you're going to come down here on the back of the sheet. You're going to want to measure your scope, your barrel to scope height, which on this rifle is, we're going to call that 1.5 inches from the center of the barrel to the center of the scope housing. So you'll come over here, look at your barrel to scope height, which is 1.5 inches, and then you can look at just the muzzle velocity, or you can come down and look at your caliber of rifle. This one happens to be a 17 HMR. What I used the other day was a 243 when I was out at the range. So you come down to find your caliber of choice, scroll over to your barrel height, 17 HMR. It is 1.5 inches above the barrel. And so you're going to want to sight in at 20 yards. And that is right here. So your caliber or your velocity, caliber of choice, all the way down. And then it goes from 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches, 2 inches, 2.5. And then it will tell you where your gun is zeroed at. In my case, I went down to the 243 the other day. That particular rifle was 1.75 inches above the barrel. So that tells me I need to place my paper at 40 yards. So when I finally did that, this thing worked as advertised. Once I got my paper set up at the appropriate distance based on the sheet, you take a shot, place your crosshairs on the bullseye, pull the trigger, make sure you have a good shot on that. Then you're going to hook this up to your objective lens. It comes with 3 plastic set screws that go into this housing. The reason these are plastic is so that it doesn't scratch your scope. Slide this over. tighten it down. And this again is after you've taken your first shot. Then you're going to set up again, make sure you're nice and steady, put your crosshairs back on the bullseye, and then you adjust that laser. You got to turn it on. This is the knob. It gets brighter as you go multiple things. It's got a 0 to 7 setting. I use the 7. You adjust these right and left, up and down until you get that red dot on the bullet hole that you have placed into the target while your crosshairs are still on the bullseye. So you adjust that to where you have now, when you're looking through the scope, your crosshairs are on the bullseye that you chose to shoot at the first shot. And then you adjust the laser to where that red dot is now over top of your bullet hole. Then you adjust the scope to where that red laser is centered on your crosshairs. Once you get all that set and you're happy with it, you're going to take this back off, put it back in the box, put it away, and take your second shot. When I did that correctly, my gun hit the bullseye on that second shot. And then I can go over here and look and see where my gun is sighted in. For the gun I was using the other day was the 243. My barrel height was 1.75, so I set my target up at 40 yards, and then I am zeroed at 200. Now, in my opinion, you're going to have to then go verify at 100 yards to make sure, or 200 yards, whatever your zero is that you wanted, to make sure that everything is correct. And then you're going to have to do some fine tuning. I found that within those 2 shots, I was really close to dialed in. It's a little finicky because you take a shot, you dial your scope back to the lowest setting. And so getting your crosshairs centered and then that laser right over your bullet hole was a little bit tricky. It would be nice if you could do it at a higher power so you could see a little bit better and get a little bit more accurate. That was the biggest downfall I saw to using this product, is that getting those sight pictures perfect was a little bit tricky. So the old school way of doing this, which I have done in the past, is you get a buddy to adjust your scope for you. You get dead set either in a lead sled or just prone on your bench, and everything's set. You can dial your scope all the way up, take your shot, see where your original hole is. You place your scope, get everything set so it's dead set, and you don't have to move the rifle at all, but you're going to have to hold it in place while somebody adjusts the zeroing knobs for you. When you have your crosshairs on the bullseye, you move the adjustment knobs until your crosshairs hit where your bullet hole was, and it basically does the same thing. This makes it a little bit easier to do by yourself. Because you can keep moving as you adjust where the laser is. You can always go back and reset everything and keep adjusting your laser until that's perfect on. And if you bump your gun in that process, it's not a big deal. You just reset your scope to the bullseye that you're shooting at, and then you can continue to adjust that laser until you can look through the scope and you can see that laser is on your bullet hole and your crosshairs are on the bullseye, and then you're ready to go. This product retails for $200. If I'm only setting up one gun a year, that $200 is pretty steep for me to justify this product for sighting in one gun. If a buddy has it, great. Or if you can go in on it with a couple of buddies, or if you are setting up multiple rifles in a season, maybe this would be something that you would go for. However, for a single rifle, shooting it in once, I can buy a lot of ammo for the $200 that this thing would give me. It will save you some time and energy at the range, so you can factor that into the cost of the product, but it is a little bit steep, in my opinion, for something that I'm only going to use when I'm setting up my rifle to begin with. And then I'm also going to have to still verify it at the range that I'm zeroing in on, or I'm going to zero it in at 100. So for this case, the rifle I was shooting in, I wanted it zeroed at 100. And when I followed their directions, it was zeroed at 200. I'm still going to have to fine tune those adjustments once I get it zeroed where I want it to be. So yes, this does work. Yes, it will save you some ammo over shooting, guessing how much to adjust your scope, shooting again, and walking your bullseye in that way. This will help you on that front. However, I think if you're only doing one rifle a year, this is probably not going to be cost effective for you. However, if you are doing multiple rifles and you and your buddies are doing multiple rifles, or you like to change out your scope multiple times over the season for whatever reason, or you're just tinkering with stuff, and or you're changing ammo frequently and you want to use that to get yourself dialed in and spend less time at the range trying to walk your zero in, this might be something you would be interested in. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. Share this video with a buddy that needs to see some of these products. And until next time, I hope you have an awesome adventure.